All good?
Yes.
All right, all good. Okay, thank you. HTML5, start again. This is the rewind. All right, HTML5, new standard of HTML. Previous version was HTML4, which came out in 1999. That's 20 years, 21 years. So as you can see, it took 20 years to get from 4 to 5. Designed to deliver almost everything you want to do online without requiring additional plugins, which is huge. If you see some of those media tags, we looked at the video tag, that's a huge improvement. We used to have to do embedded, different ways to embed plugins that were awful, like really, really difficult to work with. There's just a whole bunch of other ways to do it. Now we have a nice clean tag. It's fantastic, right? So there's a lot there like that. Even the geolocation stuff and some, we'll get into some local storage and storage. I mean, HTML, somebody told me once that maybe at one point HTML is going to have its own web controls and we won't really need too many of these frameworks anymore. Like, I'm not talking just drop downs. I'm talking like really, really interesting widgets that have its own state. And, you know, it's going to basically make a lot of this programming obsolete that we do. Web components, that's what I heard, would eventually come into HTML6 and 7. But I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know. Everything from automation, animation, right? We look at Canvas. If we look at the Canvas thing, there's a lot, I'll show you, there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with Canvas that's very impressive. Music, movies, built in. Your browser knows what to do with it. It's amazing, right? Cross-platform. It doesn't care what device you're using, tablet, smartphone, notepad, smart TV. As we know, we can kind of target and optimize the rendering for those. I'm sorry, I can't see your question until after I get it out of full screen here, but let's see if we can exit quickly and see that question. All right, well, I'm having technical difficulties, so I'll just continue. All right, HTML4 and 5. So we never talked about the difference. We just talked about this blend of tags. So as we know, HTML5 is a work in progress, which again, they're going to, if it's taken 20 years to go from 4 to 5, we can imagine it'll be at least maybe 10 or 5 to 10 to go from 5 to 6. I'm just guessing. So the syntax is definitely simplified. It's a lot cleaner now. Canvas, as we said, is for 2D drawings, which is amazing. I'm not great at it, but I've seen what it can do, and it's. I did a project, as I might have mentioned, about drawing paths to different classes and kind of showing routes on a static internal map of a building. It's quite nice. The new content sections we talked about: article, header, footer, nav, and section. Those are new tags. Menu and figure elements, audio, video, which we talk about. Just those are really cool tags. Some new controls that are really nice, like calendar, date, time, email URL. Now, before we used to have to go and buy Telerik controls, some external third party to get a calendar widget, and you know, you had to depend on those kind of external sources to kind of have this functionality. No more frame, no more center, big. I'm very sad to see these tags go. These tags are really older, but I know how to use them really well. So center, you wrap something in a center thing, it'll do what it says. Center the whole content. The B tag is bold. It'll actually bold it really quick. Font, you can control the font. So what they're saying is they're letting CSS3 do its thing, right? Cascading style sheets. They want you probably to use those, or a combination of header tags or in fact using the attributes, right, that we've talked about, those global attributes. Local storage is huge. That's another thing. And we'll get to that. I love that one. Canvas. So this is a really cool element that they added. So rendering complex graphs, designs on the web, that's always been a challenge. And you know, I can remember some of this stuff. We used to have to do server-side processes or use plugins like Silverlight or Flash. I remember Flash. I went to my own college course to learn how to do Flash. And and I got really bored of it and I didn't finish. it it was, think of keyframes, or like, you know, you have that post-it note and you kind of draw like a stick figure on each post-it note and you flip it to make it animated. It was like that. So you could have literally 500 keyframes that you would have to navigate the animation through, and it was a big plugin, kind of heavy. Silverlight was Microsoft's version of a plugin for video. Didn't take off, to be honest. And those are kind of sitting around now in legacy world, right? Some sites still have them though, but some of the newer browsers and some of the, you know, there's problem with compatibility. Anyhow, drawing charts with straight lines, never been a problem with Creative CSS. You had to use CSS for that. Rendering different shapes and gradients in the browser, ellipsis and all that stuff, curves, shapes, has been a problem. But with this canvas, you know, in all major browsers now, a lot can be done with only JavaScript and HTML tags now, so they're basically saying we don't really need to rely on the CSS for this. We can make it work with HTML tags and script, which is it's quite nice now. It's quite, I mean, I'm not great at it, but I'll show you some examples where it blew me away. So what is this canvas? It's just it's a way to render pixels on the client side using JavaScript. So these include rendering text, images, shapes, linear and radial gradients, performing animations and all of that. You can do gaming and all this stuff with it. It's vector based, and yeah, you can do a whole bunch of gaming now with it. But all right, let me just quickly show some of the stuff that I was poking around. I kind of like some of this stuff. Let's see if I can bring this up. That's pretty cool. That's using Canvas and JavaScript, and there's probably sound somewhere to it. You may not hear it. All that stuff. Using HTML video, or sorry, media tag. That's probably a little loud. Anyhow, visually very cool, very cool. Let me see if there's any other ones here, but that kind of gives you an idea what you can do. I don't know if this will give us some other examples here. So there's just a bunch of stuff that, I don't know, let's take a look. Hopefully it doesn't download some viruses while we're talking. Oh, that's not a good link. It sent me right to the MDM, so that sucks. There's a drawing one, graphic analyzer. You know, you can look at these links. I won't go through them all, but anyhow. What's this one? Will it show it to me? All right, let's load it. Start. Sorry. And it locked me out. So that's that. So it's so cool that it took over my control and locked me out. So hopefully you can still see my screen. Yeah. All right, so that's pretty amazing stuff. I encourage you to go and look more of that, especially if you're into gaming. You'll like this kind of stuff. But it's very impressive, and it relies, as you saw, some audio, video, source tags, embed tag tracks. But I mean, we were really focusing on audio, video, which, you know, loading a video up in the browser for me blows me away because I know the pain of yesteryear. Structural elements, not as exciting, but still it may be exciting to you, right? We talked about this header tag, that emphasizing the top up there. Navigation to the side, quickly break out a menu or navigation bar, which is really great. Articles and a footer. It seems very generic and straightforward. You would just say, so what? But I have, you know, you used to have to do this all with paragraphs or div tags, and then you had to use a whole bunch of CSS to try to make this kind of this kind of document respect all those column and rows and widths in that way. It was not straightforward, I'll tell you that. It was a bit of pain right there. So some of these are deprecated, depreciated, obsolete. How about that? We'll just say obsolete, okay? I probably get it wrong. Elements to be removed. So acronym applet. So applet, if you don't know the context, Java applet. let's wrap this up, guys. I'll do it kindness at a time. Center, I'm afraid to see that one go. Font, as I told you, some of these old frames and frame set, not so much. Strikeout and some of those other ones there. Geolocation, as we talked about, there may be a use for that with APIs. You can grab the geographic position of a user. This can compromise their user privacy. The position is not available, but unless they approve it. But built into HTML5, you can actually find out, where they're coming from, right? That is very cool to know. One big thing is local storage, and this is a big one, and we'll get into this. I personally love this. When you start doing JavaScript, you want to know information about your user. So web pages can be stored locally within a user's browser. Before, we used to use something called cookies. But now we have something called web storage that's in the browser, and data can persist in there only when asked for. So we can store large amounts of data without affecting the website's performance. If we need to know information about whether he's logged in or not, he's administrator, we can store it in there. Key value pair, web page can access data storage by itself. So through JavaScript, we can really use this very well. Two objects: local storage stores data with no expiration date, and session storage stores it with one session. So when the browser closes, that data is gone. Local storage will stick around. The session object is equal to local storage, except that it stores the data for only one session. The data is deleted when the user closes his browser. So that's a big one. I just wanted to mention how cool that is. And eventually you'll be able to see it if you ever use the debugging tool. If we get into more advanced options of this, there is actually a memory tab. And sorry, application tab. Inside of this application tab, there is a whole bunch of things going on in here. There's caching, which we never talked about. Storage. So now we have something called, the old school way was cookies, and that kind of would actually store text files. And we still use them quite a bit, to be honest. But we also have local storage now. So local storage, you can see a bunch of keys in there, and it has objects of information in there, such as maybe the store that you just selected. So anyhow, that's part of the browser, and that's part of HTML5, and it's a really great addition to it. So that's all of my slides today. Let me just quickly stop recording here.